Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you're someone who feels like life has kind of lost its magic, right? Things that used to make you super happy and super excited do not anymore. Whether it's, going on walks, whether it's that music that you used to love and now it just doesn't really have that same effect. If you're one of those people, then your issue likely comes down to a dopaminergic issue. And today in this video, we are going to discuss all about how to correct that issue with a nootropic known as 9-MeBC. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So first, let's dive into dopamine dysfunction and kind of understand what it is, why it happens, and how to know if maybe you are having some dopaminergic dysfunction, otherwise known as anhedonia. Now, anhedonia, right, is a condition that is actually diagnosed by doctors officially. So, just because things are feeling a little bit duller does not mean you have anhedonia. But in my opinion, it's kind of a good way to describe what certain people are going through. Now, with dopamine dysfunction, like I mentioned in the intro, a lot of it is going to relate to things that you used to like, things that used to really make you happy and feel good. Those same things now do not feel that way. And the reason this happens in our brain is because of something known as excitotoxicity. So essentially, when we're doing highly dopaminergic actions, whether it's listening to music, whether it's watching TV, whether it's eating certain foods, right? Things that are very dopaminergic, our brain doesn't like that because of the concept known as excitotoxicity. So when we do those dopaminergic things, and when we're in this highly dopaminergic state, which in today's society, with all the social media and someone likes your Instagram post and it gives you that rush of dopamine, we're always in a hyper dopaminergic state. Okay, our brain basically down regulates dopamine, right, to kind of stop some of the excitotoxicity that is going on. So that is why, maybe those things that you used to love, that used to get a lot of joy from, like I said again, music, TV, whatever it is, do not give you the same joy anymore. And I'm going to go all into kind of how to fix it in the next section with a nootropic known as 9-MeBC, which I found to be highly, highly effective at correcting this issue. And I have tons of people and clients, including myself, who have ran 9-MeBC and have had tremendous results at fixing and correcting their dopamine system. And then when they've ran their course of it, they feel better. And those things that used to kind of give them that almost childlike joy, right, that they used to have when they do it, comes back and they get it all over again. And life kind of has that magic, that vibrancy again, and is not so dull and kind of meh. So in the next section, we're going to be discussing all about 9-MeBC and kind of how it works in the brain and how you can know if 9-MeBC is working for you. So now let's dive all into how to properly use 9-MeBC. Now, if you're looking for the exact dosing protocol, it can be found over at my website, which will be linked down below. YouTube does not allow me to talk, exactly about that, but I will talk about some things that I implement into my dosing protocol to help it be both more effective and safer and overall better. So the first thing is I do not stay on it indefinitely. Why? Because there's a lack of human data on it. There's not a lot of, huge studies discussing what are the long-term side effects, and that's why I don't like to stay on it for too long. The other reason I don't stay on it for too long, and the other side effect you should be aware of, is that it can make you hypersensitive to the sun. So if you're out in the sun a lot, be very cautious when using this because it will make your skin hypersensitive to the sun. This is a, super common side effect that is associated with it. And so please be aware of that. Be careful of that. The other thing I like to do when I'm using it is I like to pair it with L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is an amino acid that's essential for the, kind of creation of dopamine in the brain. It's an essential building block. So I really like to pair this with a little bit of L-tyrosine and then something in the choline pathway, again, to help kind of stimulate the proper dopamine production in the brain. Now, when I use this, I usually do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off following, a period of high stimulant usage. So for example, let's say I'm in college, it's finals week, right? I used a lot of modafinil, a lot of caffeine. I was up late studying. My dopamine system is totally fried. I can drink a Monster right before bed. It has no effect on me. So the week after that, I would do 9-MeBC for 14 days. Okay, and if needed, I would titrate the dosage up slowly. Again, for that exact dosing protocol, you can find it in my website down below. I'll have it linked. So I would maybe titrate the dosage up a little bit on week 2, and then I would take 2 weeks off, and then I'd be back to normal after that. So again, For me, all I need is 2 weeks on 9-MeBC and I see a huge shift. Some people like to stay on it longer. For me, 2 weeks is my perfect sweet spot. Again, I don't like to expose myself to compounds that lack the long-term human data. And then I also like to pair it with things like L-tyrosine and choline and other natural nootropics to help kind of push dopamine and promote dopamine production within the brain. So those are a few quick tips and tricks on how to use 9-MeBC, a few side effects to be aware of. And again, there's not a lot of, long-term, large-scale human studies on it. So to understand the compound completely, more information will have to come out. But for me, it's always been highly successful. Like I said, people will say, what can I expect to feel from using it? I would compare it to a stimulant almost. Like it does give you energy. It gives you better memory, better cognitive function. Feels like a very clean stimulant. It feels like drinking a cup of coffee, except, you never need more of it. And then when you come off of it, it's really interesting because after the 2 weeks, like I said in the prior segment of the video, that cup of coffee that didn't really give you a great effect now hits you really hard and you feel really energized from it. And that music that you were listening to that was kind of like, that you used to really love now sounds much better. So it's really interesting how 9-MeBC and how dopamine can work towards creating a positive environment for our brain and our mental health and our mood and all that stuff. Because again, the dopaminergic system is highly, highly important in our cognitive function and our brain health. So it's going to help keep your brain healthy and functioning properly. And then aside from that, it's also going to keep your mood much better. Your outlook on life will be better. You'll be more positive. Like I said, you'll have less of those days where you feel kind of meh and where things just feel gray and not as good. And, it's almost like being a kid again, right? When you were a kid, everything was so exciting. Everything was so fun. And then as you kind of became adult, you probably noticed that, hey, things aren't as fun as they used to be. Or when I was a kid, I remember this being so much fun. So it gives you that kind of childlike excitement again, which is really cool. And like I said, it really helps to promote, overall better mental health and mental well-being. So I hope this video was informative, guys. This was my full guide and my full informational video on 9-MeBC for the exact dosing protocol and where to find 9-MeBC. It can be all found right down below, linked in the bio. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys, and until next time, have a good one.